SIRUI has added 2 more lenses to their Sniper autofocus lens set, the wide-angle 16mm and telephoto 75mm prime, and I must say, Sony APSC shooters are in for a treat this year. Not only the ZV-10 Mark II came out, we have so many new APS-C lenses coming out every single month. So the real question is, how good these lenses are and how do they stack up with the lens like Sigma 16mm f1.4 or Viltrox 27mm f1.2 Pro, for example. Let's take a closer look. So there are 5 lenses in the Sniper set and all of them are almost identical in its looks, features, weight and size. I mean, obviously the focal lengths are very different, but basically if you get this whole set, I don't think you would need any other primes, except maybe like ultra wide, like 11mm. Nevertheless, these lenses are quite simple yet beautiful. I really like how they look, the choice of materials like this carbon fiber here and the colors. The only thing I did not like is this ring around the lens. They sort of become wide right from the get-go, and that ring sort of presses on the fingers because the space between the grip and the lens is not that big on APS-C cameras. Here, Sony 50mm G Master or 85mm full-frame lenses are also fat, but they kind of go from narrow to wide, allowing space for fingers. I wish the design was a little bit different for comfort, but I noticed that the 75mm is the fattest one, which gives the most trouble. Others, not so much. Other than that, the weight balance, build quality, choice of materials and ring smoothness feels very solid and proper. And the 75mm front element is absolutely gorgeous with a lot of glass that reveals a beautiful view to the aperture blades inside, which makes it also the biggest and heaviest lens in the set. The other lenses look and feel almost identical, but there are slight differences in weight, and the 16mm is the lightest one with 374 grams. Also, the filter sizes are identical too, all with 58mm, except the 75mm lens has the 67mm filter size. Feature-wise, well, it's a basic lens. It doesn't have an AF/MS switches, aperture ring or buttons or weather sealing gaskets on the back, but what it has, it works well. What is notable is their wide f1.2 aperture, which is quite rare for APS-C lenses. Most come at f1.8 or 1.4, and the other f1.2 lens I tested was Viltrox 27mm Pro lens. It costs double of SIRUI lenses, but is loaded with features, and here I put side by side the 23mm SIRUI on the left and the 27mm Viltrox on the right, and I personally have never tested a sharper APS-C lens than the Viltrox, so SIRUI had a high bar to clear and it certainly didn't do it. 23mm was quite soft in the center at f1.2 and definitely soft in corners, but got a lot better at f2, while Viltrox was mad sharp no matter the aperture. And in real life scenarios, however, the 23mm felt like a pretty good lens, felt sharp, a perfect mid-range prime to capture, a lot of those daily moments with plenty of sharpness. Now let's compare the 16mm SIRUI with Sigma 16mm f1.4. It is, however, f1.4, and same as SIRUI, does not have any on-lens features, and latest price I checked, it was like $100 and $150 more expensive than SIRUI. However, the 16mm SIRUI lens surprised me a lot. SIRUI was much more sharper than Sigma, even at f1.2 and even in corners. Both lenses became equal at around f2. Really big surprise. Also, I took a lot of real life photos with this lens and was very happy with its performance in various scenarios. Lastly, the 75mm. I didn't have Viltrox Pro lens to compare it with, but I took plenty of shots with this lens and I know it also can be really sharp. I just found it's not the sharpest wide open. So I used the 75mm lens for this portrait shoot, and it definitely is a great lens for portraits. Focal length comes around 115mm, and once I stopped down to like f2 or 3.2, oh wow, great sharpness and detail on the lens. I was shooting with quite a bit and quite harsh backlight and really like the images I got. Now speaking of bokeh, obviously the 75mm, everything is just a big blur, yet still very nice, consistent and smooth. The 16 and the 23mm lenses also provide a really nice bokeh. I found that lenses have a pretty low distortion, and that's something we should expect at these focal lengths. There was some vignetting, but nothing too crazy. The only thing is that there are no correction profiles in Adobe Lightroom, so you will gotta do the correction manually. And regarding chromatic aberration, didn't find much in real life scenarios, so it was not a concern to me. However, there was quite a bit of flaring. The 16mm had a moderate flaring, the 23mm virtually no flaring. It was very well controlled, but the worst was of all of them was the 75mm. Quite a bit of distraction when shooting directly in the sun. However, in all the portrait backlight photos I did not see flares, which is great. Alright, now autofocus. I gotta give it to SIRUI. For what it costs, I think it's really, really good. It's fast, snappy, no hunting, and it keeps the eye out of focus very well, even for moving subjects. Noise, well, you can kind of hear it a little bit, but there's no like these cracking sounds, so it's definitely not bothering. And by the way, I will be making a separate video where I will test these lenses' video capabilities, so stay tuned for that. Okay, and final thoughts and price. Well, currently if you buy just one lens, you pay a bit over $300. However, if you get a set of 3 or 5, it will cost you just about $250 per lens, and that, in my opinion, is a really good price. On the strong side, these are F1.2 lenses that are built very well and quite compact given the aperture. It has good autofocus, and some of them, like the 16mm, is extremely sharp even at F1.2. Others are sharp at F2 and beyond, so no problem there. Downsides? You don't have all the on-lens features, if that matters to you. Inconsistency, because some are sharper than others, and that ring limiting space for your fingers. All in all, if you buy it as a set, I doubt you will find a better budget option. I think the decision to not have on-lens features to keep the price low was a wise one, and generally I can definitely recommend these lenses. Let me know if you decide to buy them. Check the links for the latest prices in the description box, and of course, don't forget to keep on creating.